Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we got ourselves a track from an act named Freyrik titled Two of Cups Reversed. And if we switch over to here, we got ourselves the lyric video on the screen here on YouTube. Apparently this is track 2 on the Cups Reversed, which is a concept album where every song is a tarot card, which is a genuinely interesting concept. It's also not on Spotify or Apple Music. Apparently the music lives inside their app titled Word, a Dark Norse vampire world of tarot and story, and Freyrik is that world's voice. So just for a bit of context here. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Just also mentioning before we get into it that I'm going to be giving this track an overall score out of 10 based on various musical criteria at the end, but for now, let's go, let's do it. What have we got? Very intense from the get-go, eh? But I kind of dig it. It's kind of experimental, isn't it? I should note that this has been around 10 years since I've reviewed Freyrik's music, Lord Frederick Russell too, so it's good to return to it. Like pops into hers. I just feel like it might be a little bit chaotic for my tastes. There's just a little bit too many different things going on for me personally to sort of come up with a cohesive concept, and unless it's literally meant to be sort of psychedelic or deliberately avant-garde. Oh, it's on the app, right? December 26th, 2026. Hang on, sorry I missed it. What was that part there? The Long Night, a Vampire Alum, 10 Tarot Cards, December 26th, 2026. So Boxing Day. Ah, Skyrim mod is coming. I want to talk about this track more in the conclusion, because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an axe named Freyrik, or Lord Frederick Russell II, the song titled Two of Cups Reversed. In this section I'm going to provide an overall song analysis of everything from lyrics and vocals all the way through to studio production, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. I should also note that I've given this track an overall score of 6.5 out of 10, which is not a bad score. There are some things I'm going to talk about just subjectively in this analysis section. But before we go any further, what do we think this track is about? If I'm honest with you, and I am actually kind of remembering some of the music I reviewed from Lord Frederick Russell too, who used to go by Insight. Again, it's nice to review more of their music. 10 years is a long time. It's music where I think it's deliberately trying to be overwhelming. And so I listened to the lyrics talking about role reversal and sort of like Fatal Attraction and weed and the smoke and Christopher Lee and everything like that. And it's almost like we just got a whole lot of different thoughts coalescing together in a way where I can't necessarily, after listening through it, I don't have a dominant narrative. You know, like I get, you know, you just need to breathe and then we'll leave. And we're rhyming some of these lines in a way where it makes sense. I like the way you roll it as another line there. We're talking presumably about smoking a blunt, but it could also be wordplay about the way you roll. I like the way even, you know, you do things. And then like with the vampire aesthetic of the video that we have here, I get the feeling of the sun arriving and everything like that. Like there are words in here that make sense, but I really would need multiple listens to sort of really understand the journey that we have, especially if I was bereft of the visual experience there. I think that like when I listen to this, I try and find a connection to what's being spoken about in terms of the lyrics and what's being spoken, like what I'm hearing from the instruments and the vocal parts. And I kind of get the connection between the vocals and the story. Like there's an intense kind of breathiness where, again, given the dark R&B stylings, and given that they're self-produced, you know, they've got their own sort of sound that they're going for. And I do kind of like some of the legato tails and some of the notes that we choose in the head and chest voice would make sense in isolation of some of those additional instrumental layers that we have later along the line. I think going into a falsetto, especially with the overall creepiness of it and the vibrato that we have there, is an interesting touch. There are some cool ideas, again, with an isolation that are presented here. It's just I'm not always necessarily understanding whether it was the chicken or the egg, whether the vocals came and then we were trying to make a sort of more sort of otherworldly experience with the music, or if we were trying to sort of make our vocal styling suitable for the genre that we're trying to work with. But it does, you know, it does contain some R&B stylings, and it does contain a lot of the kind of inherent darkness associated. So I suppose in a sense there's a connection there. You know, like if I was to think about the subject matter with the drug use, that which I don't have an issue with, you know, like I'm not a prude, and you know, like there's some good wordplay with I like the way it bleeds and everything like that. Like we're putting effort into the story. I feel like we express ourselves in a way where we almost sink into the ether, and it's almost like a fever dream. And again, with the darkness that is insinuated there and the kind of experience that the protagonist and antagonists are having, it's surreal. But like, if we just kind of move past the fact and sort of like associate that, again, if we were to isolate the vocals, they were okay. And there were some cool ideas there, even though I'm not necessarily sure if everything was completely additive. We have a track at 5 minutes 10, which is outside the 2-4 minute sweet spot. And I think that, to be fair, up until the 4:30 mark is where we start at 4:30, I think, at showing the app, the thing that people go to check out the music, as well as the upcoming album, December 26, 2026. I think that the way that it's presented is to, again, just be overwhelming. There is a plethora of ambient, ambiguous layers and components within it that, if you were just to sort of turn to a random part of the song, you might be overwhelmed by. You immediately have the static, like at the start of the track, the static crackle there, these got a warped kind of tremolos there, the wiggle woggles, all these kind of interesting sounds there, almost a sense of synthesis behind it, with the vocals coming in and swirling around the stereo field. And to be honest, that is quite interesting production style. It really is almost like you're having a trip. And the way that things spread around the stereo field as you go through it, it's like the mist is surrounding you, so if that is effective. But we have some notes there and some of the tails there where I think we're feeding off into other instruments, but it sounds like we're not necessarily trying to commit to a note choice that would match with it. Like this, it's not necessarily even chromatic, it's just very mysterious in the way that there are notes unrelated within the diatonic that kind of glitter around the piece. But also because of the hazy reverbs amongst a lot of it, it still sounds like it's kind of connected somehow. Around the 120 mark, we have a flurry of kind of like heavy sort of like oscillation, and the LFO is going crazy there. It's almost a little bit too much at that point. And I think a lot of that affectation with some of the distortion and the vocal processing, stuff like that, is I would assume maybe to elicit a certain move. But it's almost like we're trying to make the darkness a textural experience as well as a sort of tonal one. To be fair, it's definitely unique. And I do appreciate the moments where things come down a little bit, although I think, to be fair, that's primarily because I like it when things are a bit quieter here. I'm not as much of a fan of when things are super in my face and almost like, look at me. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't mind aggressive music that's in your face and brutal, and like, I like my heavy stuff, but it's almost like that stuff has something to anchor you to make sense. And here with the vocals being as kind of hidden in the ether as they are in some parts, even though they do have a presence regardless, it's just, with the occasional kind of beepy there, the drums that focus on those quarters and eighths, the ambient syncopated vocal bars, etc. And again, we do have some industrial drums in the background there that are kind of underneath everything else. And I do appreciate the kind of creativity that is like an obligatory thing to be able to kind of think to put stuff like this. I'm not sure if I like the kind of stuff around the 4:15 mark. I'm not sure how that ties into it. I'm not sure how that works with it. I think we might even have some sort of tuning on the vocals at some points to make it almost kind of very thousands R&B-ish. But it's almost like the taste of my teeth part around the 4:28 mark is almost a little bit too glitchy there. It's like, I don't know why it is like that. I don't understand it. And that last part where you have the kind of orchestral drums and the marching parts as well, with all those pads over top there, like you're in like the 7th layer. Like, inherently, I just think if you had less, you'd have more. There are some moments where there's a sense of groove and pace, such as the 3:15 mark, and you have the kind of, those kind of sequences of synthy kind of beatbops that are in time with it. And I just think you could have maybe had less of the reverb tails and kind of nodded along to that. I'm not saying you need to make a pop song. That's not it at all. But it's almost like there's not a clear harmony to sort of like cling to either. So it's almost chromatic in its affectation, and therefore you're just kind of sitting within the tension. And because it is quite distressing, which again, I can't necessarily connect that to what we're discussing within the lyrics there. It's minor, but then it's diminished, but then it's also chromatic, and it's just chaotic and strange. And it's almost like we're talking about all these things. I think it is literally about the experience of being in this world there, how overwhelming it is. I think that musically could be it. But if I kind of like look at it, because again, it's through composed, I can't nail down, I don't remember listening through it. Like, I don't remember a specific bass line or chord progression that is looped or repeated there. It just continues. And so, you've just got the studio recording, mixing, and mastering where music definitely surrounds you in your headphones. From a production perspective, it's fascinating. And again, I assume it's deliberate, so therefore we don't really have resonant frequencies. Like, stuff's kind of leveled enough, like you can go searching for things and find it. It's loud. Bus compression limiting is handled. There's interesting distortions and reverbs and delay tails and the moving and panning around the stereo field as well, which is kind of nice with the vocals. And I think there are a lot of interesting individual textures and instrumental parts within it there. And you know, like there are some sort of interesting kind of like moments where it goes down and then you have that wah kind of like noises around 4:25. And yeah, I think this is one of the most unique songs I've heard throughout 2026 so far. In terms of applicable constructive critique, I think we just need one part of the song where there's something you can follow along to. Like a chord progression or a bass line where it elicits a feeling of the mood related to outside of, again, like the mistiness or like the weed and everything like that, that directly relates to the experience the person telling the story is having or the person who is having this done to them. It just was something a bit simpler instrumentally, just so you can kind of sit there and kind of absorb it. Or there could have been a moment at like the halfway point. I was checking in case there wasn't. Like, again, to be fair, at 2:07, there was a part where it did come down a little bit and there were just vocals. But even then, there were other elements and glitchier textures and stuff that are overcoming it. I just feel like we could have two halves of it, and maybe the first half could be the invitation to the person to be a part of this world, and the second half could be the result of it. I'm not quite sure, but regardless, that's basically it for applicable constructive critique. I wanted something for it to cling on from a listener's perspective, so that if I listened through the rest of the album, I knew, oh, okay, even with that, like with or without a knowledge of like the tarot cards and everything like that, that I knew I was going to have that, because at the moment it could well be 10 tracks of noise. For final general thoughts from a listener's perspective, I know that I've been pretty blunt with this one. It's not because I feel like I have the right to be, even though I try to keep these reviews honest. It's more that I just think I appreciate when I can hear a connection between the music and the lyrics. And I appreciate when I can get enough of it on a first listen basis, you know, whilst listening to it actively, to be able to sort of like culminate that. I do wonder what 2016 Logan would have thought of this. 2026 Logan has reviewed thousands of songs at this point. And I've listened to a lot of avant-garde and experimental music, so I'm not alienated by it. I just hope that as we continue to explore our options in terms of releases, that we try to put at least one moment of foundation, just a moment, like a little tiny bit of oasis in the desert, you know? Just so people have a place at a halfway point or near the end to go, I get it. But that is purely a subjective thing, and maybe the fact that I didn't get it the first time means it has replay value. But regardless, either way, thank you for watching my review of this track from Freyrik, Lord Freyrik Russell 2, track titled Two of Cups Reversed. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show him some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.